So in conclusion, is it worth turbocharging your Z, G, or maybe your car in general? Absolutely not. I just dodged the biggest rock. The car is spooling a little bit later than it should just because I have such a big exhaust leak, and rear mount and test pipe exhaust leak do not mix. Oh my God! So you want to turbo your VQ Nissan 350Z, 370Z, G35, G37? You're in the right spot. My name is Danny. Hit that subscribe, like the video. We're trying to get to 100,000 by the end of the year. And let's talk about why you're in the right place. So you want to turbo your Z or G? Let's talk about it. In case you're not caught up with the channel, we recently turbocharged my 2009 Nissan 370Z. We actually did a very unique rear mount turbo setup, as you saw in the beginning of the video. In this video, I plan on discussing everything you need to know before turbocharging your Z, G, Q, whatever it is, in less than 15 minutes. Timer start, let's get into it. Woo! First, let's answer 3 questions. 1, is it difficult? Not really. Out of 10, I would give it like a 5 or 6. 2, can you do it by yourself at home, DIY on jack stands? Yes. And 3, does it take a long time? Yes. Yeah, it does. So why do you want to turbo your car? To make it fast. So let's talk about horsepower. First, let's talking about you turbocharging your DE. The DE motor comes in the 03 to I believe 06 350Z G35. And another thing that a lot of people kind of misinterpret is horsepower isn't what kills the car. It is torque. This car, actually we're gonna talk more about it later, but torque is what kills your car, not horsepower, at least for this VQ platform. If you're going to daily drive your DE engine, I would not go past 430, 440, 450 horsepower. You can be at 450 but just lower down the torque and you'll be fine. But if you want to push an okay amount of torque and go to 450 horsepower, you will start having problems. The engine just cannot take that much power. So if you want to be safe, I would say 400, 390. If you want to risk it for the biscuit, for the hearse purse, I'll say 450, and that's like really pushing it. But for torque, you should not be pushing over 400 torque on a DE or it will last 5 hours. And as an example, the guy who tuned this car, Eric, he actually tuned a G35 DE to 530 wheel horsepower, but he only did 390 torque, so that's why he was able to push that much horsepower. Now for the HR model, which is the 2008 350Z, it is not as strong as the VHR, but with the HR model on the 350Z, you can still push closer to 600 wheel horsepower. You just cannot go above 450 to like 500 wheel torque. And then for the almighty VHR 3.7 liter that comes in the G37 and 370Z, you are good up until 700 wheel horsepower, but you don't really want to go past 600 torque, or I would say personally even get near it. I would probably stay like in the 550, 540 torque range. This rear mount turbo setup did 568 wheel horsepower with 440 torque. That honestly sounds amazing, and trust me, it is so much fun, but it still got more in her. We're shooting for that 650 wheel horsepower. We're gonna make a few modifications. We're gonna get into that in a little bit, but just don't go over 600 torque and you'll be fine. Before we get into how to make that much horsepower, what do you need to take care of before turbocharging your car? Honestly, I overthought a lot before turbocharging my car. I wanted to make sure everything was good, but if we're being honest, you don't really need to fix much. If you really think about it, it is just a bolt-on upgrade. But for my personal experience, the first thing I would do is fix every single oil leak you have. Change the gallery gaskets. If your gallery gaskets are not fixed or checked up, before you turbo your car, it will blow up. You are going to lose oil pressure and the engine will start knocking. Personal experience, I wasn't gonna do my gallery gaskets before doing the turbo kit. Someone commented that we should do it. I talked about it with Eric. We ended up doing it, and guess what? One of my gallery gaskets was bad and I had low oil pressure. If I turboed my car, right now Brittany would have been blown up. So change your gaskets. Make this an excuse to fix every little thing that you've always wanted to fix on the car. Honestly, and then if we want to talk about supporting mods, to be honest, the only thing I really recommend, don't even question it, is an oil cooler. I myself put a $100 oil cooler that I found on Amazon. Link will be in the description, and it works perfectly on my G37 VHR. So now you know how much horsepower you're gonna make. How are you gonna make it? You gotta ask yourself, should I manufacture my own turbo kit, which you're gonna have to find piping, find a shop that will do it for you, figure out the right fueling system, figure out the right fuel pump, fuel injectors, figure out if you wanna go 85, if you wanna go meth, if you wanna go NOS, figure out the right turbo sizing. Do you wanna go mid mount, rear mount, front mount, top mount? Are you ready to go through the headache of having to figure out things on your own and figure out how to manufacture them? Or do you wanna buy a turbo kit? When looking for a turbo kit, you have to ask yourself, do I want twin turbos? Do I want one turbo? Do I want it all the way in the back of the car? Do I want it all the way in the front of the car? Do I want it on my seat? As I was looking through these turbo kits, it was really hard to compare them, because if you really think about it, a turbo kit is a turbo kit. It's the same thing. Every shop does different setups. Even if it's the same twin turbo, they might use different material piping. They might use different size piping. They might route things in a different way that might be harder to install, and the shop might do it this way that might be easier to install, but the harder way to install, it's the most efficient way. It really varies, but to numb it all down, turbo kit is a turbo kit. Also, some of them don't bring all the things that you need. So for example, we're gonna take the twin turbo kit from AAM. It is 1000 horsepower capable, pretty much brings everything. That one runs around $10,000. Yeah. And then we look at the Rev 9 turbo kit that's only for the DE models with 350Z. It is only $2,900, but you are missing a lot of things, and instead of twin turbos, it is one turbo. Now, if you're wondering why twin turbos and why one turbo, from what I understand, twin turbo, you get less lag. One turbo is for the lower half of the RPM, so you don't get turbo lag, and then the second turbo picks up more like towards the mid-range and top end of the RPM rev range. Or you can have it set up so both hit at the same time. Now, I don't think that's as efficient as one for the bottom half and then one for the top half. But if you don't want to go that route and you want to go with a single turbo Rev 9 turbo kit, you get one turbo. There might be a little more lag than the twin turbo, but not much. It also depends where the turbo is. If it's in the top of the engine, you don't really get that much lag. It's basically the same thing. And a twin turbo 370 can make the same amount of horsepower as a single turbo 370. And the single turbo can make more horsepower than the twin turbo. It really comes down to preference, what you're looking for. If you plan to daily drive the car, not daily drive the car, you gotta really sit down, talk with your tuner, talk with the people that manufacture the turbo kit. But the reason the Rev 9 turbo kit is so cheap is fitment isn't great. It sometimes misses a lot of things that should be included in the kit. It doesn't include fueling, it doesn't include a clutch, and it also doesn't include a tune. A tune alone, roughly like around $1,000. Clutch, let's say $1,000 to $1,500, you're at $3,900. Tune, you're at $4,900. Fueling, you're like at $5,900, $6,900. And then gauges as well, you're already like at $6,000 for a $2,900 turbo kit. So yes, it's cheap, but trust me, it's gonna cost a lot more than it looks. But let's talk about the turbo kit that I do have, and it starts right around $6,500. This turbo kit is created to customer specifications. You tell them the horsepower you want, and they will make you a custom turbo kit. This kit brings an S3666 bore Warner, which is used on a lot of diesel trucks.
People talk about, oh, the spool times being slow. You'll see it when we put on the dyno. It's really not. The whole point of using the Borg-Warner turbo is inherently it's designed for a diesel truck. That is what they are designed around. Diesels run, their exhaust temps run at a much colder temperature than gas. So they're designed around the fact to spool quickly with lower exhaust temp, because exhaust temp and flow is what makes turbo spool. It's not just air, it's also heat.
It also includes fueling, blow-off valve, wastegate, all the intercooler piping, injectors, fuel pump, 1050cc injectors, 450 liters per hour fuel pump. You do get a meth tank if you do not want to go E85. It's a stage 1 snow performance meth tank. As you can see right here, we got 300 liters or cc nozzles, 1-inch intake, and we do have the T that tees off into both intakes, because obviously the VHR is a dual intake engine. I don't believe these gauges are included, but this is a great example of things being a little more expensive than you thought. I never thought I was gonna buy $350, $400 gauges. This one was that much, and this one was around $150, I believe. It's a wideband boost controller. You can change your duty cycle through here. You can look at AFRs along with boost at the same time. Boost cut press, which is amazing. If the car tries to overboost, when it hits 14.2, over here you go to boost cut percentage, is gonna start cutting 26%, or I believe it cuts up to 26%. So the car can't really overboost and blow your engine. On things like that, I'm very glad that I spent a little extra money on those gauges just to make sure everything's safe. This car isn't my daily driver, but it's a car that I truly love, and I would hate to achieve my dream of turboing it and then see it blow up a week later. It's been a week, so it hasn't happened. 2 weeks later is fine though. Just kidding, please don't blow up. They actually create custom rear mounts, mid mounts, top mounts for 350Z DE, HR, VHR, any single engine you want. So when it comes to the turbo kits, you really have to do your research, but I don't want this to be a biased video. I will literally put in the description every single turbo kit that I've talked about today, or every single common or popular turbo kit. Limo tuning will be at the top, since that's what I'm running, and you guys are probably curious to see what I'm running, but every other turbo kit will be under that. Look through them. I actually believe for limo tuning turbo kit, you have to send them a message on Instagram or email them. It's a little more personal, a little more personalized turbo kit. That's how they like to do it. I personally love that. It's not generic. They personalize it for you. It's also generic, but they try to make it as personal as possible. Quick rapid fire, and for the sake of this video, I am going to be breaking down each car part and how much it costs. Obviously, this doesn't include the hours of piping and fabrication and welding that took to build this kit. Turbo S366 Borg-Warner, capable of 850 horsepower, $900 to $1,000. 50mm Turbo Smart wastegate, $500. Snow Performance Stage 1 meth kit, $305. Walbro 450 fuel pump, $120. SCG-1 gauge, $400. AEM OBD2 gauge, $150. Upper of license is around $400, $500, not including the tune. 1050cc injectors, $600. And then intercooler was like, it's an eBay one, so maybe like $200, $300, I don't know. Obviously you gotta include vacuum lines, oil lines, and the fabrication, because yes, you get all the pieces, but how are you gonna connect them, put them together? So, but as I was saying before, if you think a turbo kit is all you're gonna spend your money on, then the install is gonna go smooth with no money spending. Since we're talking about money and turbo kits right now, I'm going to give an example of how much I had to spend, or roughly how much I had to spend turbocharging this car. All these calculations is if you're doing it yourself. If you're taking it to a shop, I would say how much a turbo kit costs, add 30-40% of that, and that's how much it's gonna cost to install a turbo kit. Right off the bat, I needed extra clamps. I couldn't order them through Amazon. I got the wrong package. That was $20 of wrong clamps. And then I found a hydraulic supply store near here. They had all the clamps we needed. I was excited. $110 for 7 or 6 clamps, T-bolt clamps. And then you have to buy coolant, you have to buy oil. You're probably gonna need tools. You're gonna have to go out and buy tools. I spent roughly $200 just on tools, clamps, nuts, bolts, washers, anything. To get the car dialed in, you're gonna have to put it on the dyno if you don't want to do a street tune. Dynos roughly cost $120 an hour. We were there for like the whole day. Yeah, you have to consider all these little things, because you're gonna get there and you're gonna be like, wow, well, my budget was $5 grand and I gotta spend $8 grand. What do I do now? And then you also have to factor in you're making more horsepower, so those little skinny boys back there aren't gonna take the power, like my friend. It's not gonna be enough. And then if your car's tires are too skinny where you can't go wide enough for you to hook, you're gonna be like, okay, I just need new wheels. So that's like $1 grand. And then you need new tires, that's like another $1 grand. So you already spent $2 grand and you're spending like 10K instead of 5K. What the heck, man? Also, if you have a one-wheel peel / open diff, the power when you put it down, it's not gonna be as nice as if you had a welded diff or LSD. So you gotta also factor in money for a new diff. Thankfully, the sport model, which I have, does have an LSD. Why is the camera moving? So I'm good in that sense, but another thing to put money down on. Another really cool thing that I learned a lot through this whole process is fueling. So I kind of just want to talk about it a little bit. I made 568 to the wheels with 440 without a return system, without E85, and just running meth. Meth is probably the most underrated add-on to a car when you're trying to make more power but don't have the budget to go E85 with a return system. What meth does, as you guys see, the nozzles go into the intakes. Basically, you get better intake temps, lets you push the car a lot harder than you normally would if you didn't have meth. It's a very simple install. All my maps, I have 5 maps. All of them are with meth, except the last one in case I accidentally run out of meth. But to give you guys an example, 22 pulls in the dyno, and my meth tank was just a little bit lower than halfway. Obviously, I have little nozzles, and we are going to be upgrading my meth tank to be able to push a little more horsepower. It doesn't break the bank, it helps you get a lot more horsepower, and it doesn't really run out of meth as quick as you think. I do get a lot of misconceptions of you need a lot of money for fueling if you want to push a lot of horsepower. You really don't. You just have to play things right. There's 1,000,001 ways to do fueling and get the same amount of horsepower. And if you plan on doing the fuel system yourself and you don't know how much liters per hour you need or how much CC injectors you need, I am gonna leave a link in the description to 2 websites where you type in the information you have, how much horsepower you want, and it tells you what size injectors or what size fuel pump you need. And with this fuel pump, we are indeed running the relay kit. So now your car's turboed. What about the tune? I'm gonna put ECU Tech and UpRev in a very simple term for you guys. They are different platforms that are used to do the same thing, and that is tune your car to push horsepower. But ECU Tech has different features that UpRev doesn't have. UpRev has different features that ECU Tech doesn't have, which you gotta look into. So I found this great paragraph on the 370Z forum by, what's his name? By Shops Z. This article might be a little older, so some things might have changed, but I think everything stays the same. So he said, from what I gathered, the tables on ECU Tech are much higher resolution, so finer adjustments can be made, making the much smoother power delivery and drivability. Also, the fact that ECU Tech has the ability to tune, hijack the throttle is a major plus. On the other hand, UpRev allows the user to tune their own vehicle, and since you know how to do your own tuning, that to me will be a big advantage if you plan on swapping parts a lot. I have 2 amazing gauges, and I'm already tuned by UpRev, so why switch from one program to the other if UpRev is completely fine? So that's why I am personally tuned on UpRev. So now the last 2 questions: is it worth it, and how much money do you need to tune your car? How much money should you have saved up? If you have my car, I would have at least 9 to 10 grand saved up extra. That's if you're going with like a $6,000 to $8,000 turbo kit. If you're buying a $10,000 turbo kit, I would have 12 to 13K saved up just in case. Honestly, how much the turbo kit costs, I would have 3 to 4K more just in case, and to buy the other add-ons that the turbo kit does not have. Or if the turbo kit has a lot of things, you might not need to save as much. But the $2,900 turbo kit, I would honestly have $2,900. I would have probably like 7 to 8 grand saved if I'm gonna use that turbo kit on my DE. So in conclusion, is it worth turbocharging your Z, G, or maybe your car in general? Absolutely not. Psych! Heck yeah, honestly. If you have not yet seen my first drive after the tune, I legit shed a tear in this car. That just shows how emotional and just incredible it was. This is always a goal of mine. The headaches, everything was worth it. The car drives incredible, drives like OEM. And I mean, when you step on it and it goes in boost, it just flies. It's like nothing I've ever felt before. The sound is amazing, beautiful. In my opinion, it's 100% worth it. Go out there, you dirty dogs. Go turbo your VQs, your Zs, your Gs. I love you guys so much. If you're new here, my name is Danny. Make sure you smash that thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel. We're trying to get to 100,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and that is not possible if you don't subscribe. So with that being said, I'll see you guys next time. Peace. Woo! Wait, I almost forgot. Hasta luego.